Okay. Let's start again from the top of HaMitzvos Series. Oopsie. HaMitzvos Series. HaMitzvos Series, V'hi she'izhanu v'netois ach avodah zara u'mehisasek b'siporeho. Or u'lehisasek b'inyono. So the interesting thing, which I didn't point out last week, is that there's a vav between netois ach avodah zara u'mehisasek b'siporeo or b'inyono. So a priori looking at it, you get the impression that there are two separate things going on here. And I think it's very difficult, and I don't think that's the approach you should take. And the Ram also in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Tzivonu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shalikois B'Eisen HaSvom Klau, V'lo Leharer, V'lo B'dov Midvoreho. But you don't get the impression that there are two separate things going on. It's a the Isa is a I would assume the best way to translate it is b'netois ach avodah zara b'derech hisaskus b'siporeho. And then the Rotzoloima makes sense. Rotzoloima b'zeh ho'iyun vis avshus. Now, this I pointed out last week that l'chayr is something missing in Ibn Tibbon, and it probably should be something like ho'iyun vashinun b'oisen hazoyos va'avolim she'oimim yasdeho she'ruchen is plonis teirer alidei koyakach v'tasekach. The koich aploni yiktu lo. You do X and Y will happen in each separate one. Here machshovo be'elu advorim just before we get to this, so what's the Isa? The problem, you see, is the Isa, let's say, for example, mythology stories about the Avodah Zarah, or it's the ways that the Oived could potentially fulfill and get his Rotzoin by Oived Avodah Zarah. And l'chayr, what the Ram is presenting is not stories about Avodah Zarah, but various modus operandi that I could get X if I do Y. It's like a handbook. And that's the problem. And if you have the handbook, you may end up using it. This I pointed out last week, and won't go over it, but just mention it, that the problem the Rambam is to think about this Beinin in Yoni Avodah Zarah because of Chash Avodah. The Ramban, at least the way he's presenting in Chumash, the problem is that you give credence to the Avodah Zarah. And we pointed out in the Ramban, in Sherish Yuvi, that he makes reference to it. He says the Mona Rav maybe is only referring to the Rambam. We discussed this last week. Now, hamachshova bo'elu hadvorim vo'iyun bi'oisa leitzonus. It's a very strange word. It will get people involved in doing avodah. Kachab translated that Dimyonis Mimashi Mo'ere as a Pesi Lidresh Oisamel of them. And the Chayra Kapach's translation is better because you get the impression, the clear impression from the translation that the whole thing is only dimyon and there's no relation to reality. And continue. Vakos shehize boy mize or inyan, who omroi al tifnu el hoililu. And not to be involved, not to be put in the achre avodah zorah. And v'loshe sifro imat put in achreim at oise nelohus. So the Sefer learns that it will bring it to avodah zorah, and that's the Ram's working with, and that's the Ram's trying to explain what the Ashola is all about. I pointed out, I think last week, that the Ram Mishnah Torah doesn't say you don't need the Sefer because the Mefurish Pasuk in Perek Beis Halacha Beis in Hilchos Avodah Zorah shedov zeh goyim liponis achreho v'la aseis kamo shehein oisin shnemo v'esa kein gamoni. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I probably mentioned that here the Ram quotes a Vishom Omru which is the Sifra, Rabbi Yehuda Eimer al tifne leroison. What's leima fil listakel suras atzelem haniris v'machshava basiasa eino muteres. Eino muter kedei shelo yasik chelik min azman v'chelik mimen. See here, it's very difficult reading. But before we get to that, the Rambam says the word Gotzaloima afilu. So means it's not only the Kriya in the Sifarim, but also the Staklus. Rabbi Yehuda is Moisif, afilu Stakel, Suras Hatzelem, Haniris, V'amachshav. So we'll see what the rest of it is. And the Rav Sadi going also passes like Rabbi Yehuda, like the Rambam, but he learns that Rabbi Yehuda is coming to Mevayeh the law of Al Tifnu. And that's all it is. Whereas, according to the Rambam, he's coming to be Moisif. It's not only his boinus and Sipur Avodah Zorah, but it's also Habot in the Psalm. Lashon of Hai Sadi going is in Perek Chav Gimel on page 219 in Sefer HaMitzvos of Sadi going. Achakach or Isa lahabit bohem uli his boinin bohem. I guess through the habota you'll be misboining. Amu Al tifnu alilim. The Chayr is quoting Rabbi Yehuda, and that's the pshat. The Ram is quoting Rabbi Yehuda as a hisofa. Now, this sentence is very strange in Ibn Tibin. Haniris Niziris Machshov Basiyosef Eino Muta Kedei Shelo Yasik Chelik Min Hazman B'Chelik Mimeno. So Chelik Min Hazman B'Chelik Mimeno. So in Kapach, it's hapesel achitzonis, the outer looking, the image of the pesel, ulisboinein basiyosei also, kedei shelo yaasik chelik min hazmon b'mashu behem. You shouldn't take time to be involved in them. It's a very strange thing. What does that mean, take time? Because you waste the time to be involved in them. And Mitzvah will talk about this soon. It's a very strange phrase. Then, the real question, and in fact, I think I discussed this last week also. Why does the Ram get involved in Rabbi Yehuda? So, what I thought is, because you look at the Sefer in Kedoshim, Parsha Aleph, at Perek Aleph, Halacha Yud, Al Tifnu Lilim, Al Tifnu Li'oivdom. Rabbi Yehuda Oim, Al Tifnu Li'roisam. Die. So, L'cheira, one could ask, the Ram's quoting the Sefer, and he's only quoting Rabbi Yehuda, not the Chachamim. And the more serious question is, why does the Ram get involved in this? Because usually the Ram doesn't get involved in the nitty-gritty of the mitzvah. That's the Mishnah Torah. Here, the question is, what is the mitzvah and what am I minor? So, I think I mentioned this last week, that L'chayr Ram's opinion comes to tell you that Allah is like Rabbi Yehuda. And therefore, it's a separate mitzvah in Minyan HaMitzvos. Because if the halacha be like a chomim, the chomim said, Al tifnu, elilim, al tifnu li'ovdom, it's not a separate mitzvah, but it's a kefil of the Isa Lavod Avodah Zarah. And you don't count kefil in Minyan HaMitzvos. So the Ram is quoting Rabbi Yehuda because whether this is a separate mitzvah or not really depends upon Rabbi Yehuda. Because according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Isa is an Isa Pniach Avodah Zarah, and even L'Istakol Surasa. And according to Rabbanan, now Tifnu means to be over Avodah Zarah. There's no separate mitzvah. And I think I found Rabbi Yochanan Perlau says this. And he claims that's why the Bahag is not moina this Minyan HaMitzvos, because it's he passed like the chomim, and it's another way to move it up with the Zorah. It's another lav, of ashar of the Zorah. So it's only kefil, you don't count kefil in Minyan HaMitzvos. Now, we still have to be perturbed. What does the Rambam want over here with this whole idea of chelik min hazman b'chelik mimeno, or as Kapach translates it, that it's Yasik chelik min hazman b'mashu mehem. Makes more sense. We still understand what it is. So let's continue and let's see the Gemara in Shiur. V'perek Shiur od mechaveroi, Gemara in Shabbos Tesman Aleph. Ksav hamahalach tachas atzuro v'sachas hadiuk nois also the kloisei b'Shabbos udiuk nei atzmo afilu b'chol also. Diuk na'atzmo afilu b'chol also l'stakel bo. Mishum shene'ema al tifno elilim my Talmudi Amr Rabbi Yochanan B'Chanan, depending upon what the gis in the Gemara is. Ram has a different gis. Rabbi Yochanan al tifnu el midait. Tafanu, we'll see exactly how to read and what it means. I assume, first of all, that he's quoting Perek Shiur to prove halacha Rabbi Yehuda, because the Gemara Ksav, look, Ksav hamahalach tachas atzuro v'tachas adiuknis also the kloisa b'Shabbos udiuk atzma afilu b'chol also v'stagol shneim al tefanu al tifnu el elilim my Talmudei, and then he says the pshat. But l'cheira, what does it mean? It means the Gemara only quotes Rabbi Yehuda, and since the Gemara only quotes Rabbi Yehuda, it's a rayadach that we paskin like Rabbi Yehuda, because to try to say we'll see what you can derive from the Gemara and what the Gemara actually means, but you understand yourself that this is certainly pratei HaMitzvah, and nothing at all shouldn't have to do with min HaMitzvos. Now, the main question over here is looking at Rabbi Yehuda, that he says in Isa Staklus, how in the world you derive it from Al Tifnu Elo Elilim. So I would have said that Derech Istaklus, there's this bonus. And however, that's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says a whole new drasha from Rabbi Yochanan, B'Chanan, whoever it is. So, a priori, you could have said it's a raya. It's a raya to Rav Sadigoy. That there's no Isa of his pointiness to say. The Isa is pointless, is only Derech Istaklos. There's no Isa Istaklos. There's no problem. We all want to prove. Where does Isa Istaklos come from? Al Tifnu. So let's try to see what the pshat in the Gemara is. I'm quoting it. So interesting. The Chedusha Ritva in Shabbos there, on Kuf Mem Tes, he writes the following: V'Rambam Zal Goris al Tfanu El Midaitchem Loi Tispenu Lahavolim V'Tiyu Mefanim zichron shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu midaitchem. Don't shove away God from your mind. And the Orch over there, in the Orch of Pen, Al Tefanu from, I guess, Tefanu, Pen, Pan, El midaitchem, Pirush bizman she'atem mistaklim bohen, atem mefanim kale midaitchem. You are, the kale then is not a Shem Kol, the Shem Kodesh. You are mefana al tefanu kale midaitchem, from your mind. And you get that impression from Rambam in the Vuchim. The Rambam in the Vuchim, Chele Gimel, Perek Nun Aleph, V'da, V'ru ha'isa hechochom shebnei Odom, b'amitas ha'chochma elokis, if you reached the full intellectual achievement that man should reach, כשתפנה מחשבתך למאכל צורך, when you get involved in eating, even though it's necessity, or la'isek tzorech, or some type of task which is necessary for you, posakto hadibuk hahu asher beincho bein HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have cut the connection between you and the Rebbeinu Shalom. V'eincho imoy oz. And at that point that you stop thinking about the Rebbeinu Shalom, you're not with him. V'chein hu einu imoch. And it's a symbiotic relationship. As much as man is with God, God is with man. So if you're not with God at that moment, God is not with you. Ki hayachas ahu asher beincho uveinoy v'anifsak b'po'al b'eis hahi. At that moment, l'bnei zeh. Okay, listen to this. L'bnei zeh hoyu makpidim a chasidim. Here, this is only a milas chasidus. L'bnei zeh hoyu makpidim a chasidim. It's not a question of chasidim. It's not tzaddikim. It's chasidim. Al hashois shehoyu b'teilin bohem milachshu b'shem. That you should be very careful to be constantly involved in thinking about the Rebbeinu Shalom. V'hizhiru mimenu v'omru. Now, listen to this. V'hizhiru mimenu, and the Chazal, or the Pasuk, I don't know exactly, V'hizhiru mimenu v'omru al tifanu, maybe it's Chazal interpreting the Pasuk, al tifanu kale midaitchem. Don't shove out God from your mind. V'omar David shivisi Hashem lenegdi somit ki mimini balemoit u'omer eini mefani machshavti mimenu u'ki'ilu hu yad yimini asher lo yishkachenu odom keheref ayin lakalas tnuasa v'nezeh lo yomut kloima lo yepo. Since God's with me, I won't fall. So a priori, thinking about this and looking at the Lashon, you would have said there's an Isa to menatik your kesher from God. You can't do that. Because the Rambam in the Vuchim says that this is only Midas Chassidus. So how can there be an Ashara? So what's going on here exactly? And it says Kva his Shiur. It says Ashara. So I would tell you the following. The Ram certainly says that to stop to think about the Rebbeinu Shalom for a second is midas chassidus. But thinking and being involved with Avodah Zarah, which is the antithesis of being involved with the Rebbeinu Shalom, is an Isa. So from Al Tefanu, Kel Midaitchem, you understand what the midas chassidus is. But the way you violate the Isa is only by Machshav and Avodah Zarah, because that's the antithesis of being involved in the Rebbeinu Shalom. And then that is what the Targum of Kapach, Kidei shelo yasik chelek min hazman b'mashu mihem. You shouldn't be involved with them for a second, because that's a stira to being involved with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Because every second that you're involved with Avodah Zarah is a need to come of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's his hiunu, al tefanu kel midaitchem. But from that you understand what the midas chassidus is. So if this sounds like a very reasonable pshat, and certainly, I think, certainly palatable. The question is, once you say this, you ask yourself, is the histaklus and Avodah Zarah, if the pshat is al tefanu kel midaitchem, is the Isa because I may be over Avodah Zarah, or the Isa is because I shouldn't not take my keshet for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So I would have said the latter, and I would have said that then that the Ikalav is to be involved in Super Avodah Zarah, which is maybe Lidei Avodah. So also, I feel Rabbi Yehuda's Machadish, that even there's no Chash Avodah Zarah, but there still is a problem because of Al Tefanu Kel Midaitchem. That's what I would have said. And l'chayra, that's mistaber. However, it's a little bit odd then if you say it like that. The flow of the Ram is very strange, and basically Rabbi Yehuda's discussion has nothing at all to do with the discussion before. It's a parenthetical remark to prove that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and that the Isa is an Isa of Machshava. And but the Isa that Yehuda is talking about is a separate Isa. That's very odd to say that. And then you say maybe, even if you like here on reading Sipur, you do a Maisa, whatever that is, whatever Maisa it is, but you might not be like here on Istaklus. Let's say you do the Istaklus to a Maisa. However, whatever you want to say here in Sefer HaMitzvos, in Mishnah Torah, it's mufurish that even histaklus in Avodah Zarah, there's a chashash of pinui ach Avodah Zarah and chashash avodah. And it's also mashmin Rambam that lu yitzur there will be histaklus derech ha'maisa, you will be loika. So the exact opposite of what I wanted to suggest over here, al tefano kel midaitchem, is a whole different issue. The Ram Menuchas Avodah Zarah in Perek Beis, Halacha Beis and Gimel, Sforim Rabim, Chibur of the Avodah Zarah, V'chulei, Tzivonu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Sholiko Yispiris and Sforim Klal, Vol Nahara Behem V'chulei, V'afil Listakel B'demus Hatzuos, Shnei Mal Tefalna Alilim, and the Chol, it's all the same. Being as they name fen tidrash, leiloheim leimo echayavdu chulei. Shadov ze goyim liponis achel, v'lasses kamo chulei. B'chol alav moelu being echadu v'hu shel yifanach avodah zarah. B'chol anifne achreho b'derech shehu oise boy maise harizeh loike. So Pashas is like it goes on everything. So you get the impression of Rambam that Histaklus is all the same in Mishnah Torah. Was it a stira or not? I don't know. But L'cheira, I would have said that it's a separate issue. And the Rambam Mishnah Torah is very clear that it's not so. Now, what's the Isa al Tefanu? And what's the Isa Stakus? So the Rambam is very clearly said here, and here, that the Isa is because you're involved in something else which is menatik a keshet to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ritva has a different shot. If you mistaklim, it's a very strange thing. If you're going to get involved in looking at something, bisboinus, you should mistakil in niflos habriyah. Niflos habriyah. You see, the ease, according to the Ritva, it's like upside going that the ease is only a staklus. So if you're going to look at something, you should look at this and not in that, and there should be a spoinus derech staklus. However, according to the Rambam, the Isa is hefsek in his bonus on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, it's not that you should be thinking about the niflos HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should be kosher to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Ritva and Shabbos, the Kuf Mem Tesam and Aleph, they were master the final Elilim, Midaitchem, Pirush Rashi, Elilim Loshen Cholo, Vochikomo. Al tistakel lema she'osu yedchem v'yotze mechlal libchem loima she'enu roi listakel el v'maisa Hashem yisborach. You should only looking at that which God made. Ke lahakin nifloiso v'ki inyan ki ere shomecha, and looking at the heavens will bring you to understand and be with God. So it's a whole different thing. It's a question of what you should look at or what you should be intellectually involved in. What's this Isa? According to the Rambam, it's a question of what you should intellectually involved with. And you should always be involved with thinking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And according to the Ritva, and I see Sadi going, the question is Taklus Mitzias. And you shouldn't look at the Avodah Zarah, you should look at the Maisi de HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's an interesting parallel because it's something like the Rambam. The Rambam says, ideally, you should be kosher in the Rebbeinu Shalom the whole time, but the Isa is only something which is steer to it, to be involved in Avodah Zarah. Similarly, ideally, you should be looking at his boinin in the Ma'aseh HaKadosh Baruch Hu to understand the flows of Abriya. But there's no Isa to look at something else. The Isa is to look at something which is steer to that, to looking at your Ma'aseh Yadayim, the Avodah Zarah. The same type of idea, but a whole different twist. Now, and the Ram stopped over here, we will all be very happy. Not happy, he fulfilled his obligation. He's pointing out that the halacha is like a Yehuda, and therefore it's a separate lav. And the Rai Dr. Gmor and Shabbos, that only quotes a Yehuda. Because a priori, the Bahag or those that might not pass Rabbi Yehuda, they're correct. Because the general cloud is Yoch V'Rab Malach V'Rabim, and you shouldn't pass like Rabbi Yehuda. So comes the Rambam. It says the stam of the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda. Then it says like this. And here it becomes very interesting. Turns Kriyashma upside down, inside out. We'll just see line by line and see what happens. How the Ram interprets the Pesukim. And the interesting will be to contrast, does he learn the same in Mishnah Torah or not? And what exactly he's saying, what's going on. So just to start, when you say Kriyashma, Hishomu lochem pen yiftel levavchem v'saltem v'avatem Elohim ha'eim. So what are we saying? And why are we saying this? Hishomu lochem. I mean, Hishomu lochem, there's a lav. V'hu amrei yis'ale. Hishomu lochem pen yifter levavchem v'saltem v'avadtem. What's a loima? Ki ato k'sheyamik libcho lachshev bo Shimtor kapach, Shimtor libcho lizboinen bo, Yifte levavchem is tor libcho lizboinen bo, Yie ze mevi oisko losur min aderech, Hayishol is asik bavodos. So Bekitzi is what the Ram is machadish here in Sefer HaMitzvos, that the lav in the second Parsha Kriyashma, Hishomu lochem pen yiftel levavchem v'saltem v'avadtem, is basically saying over the pasuk al tifnu of al tifnu al elilim, because she'im atapoin achrein at oisa melohus. Hishomu lochem. Then you tell about him what's a loimek, Ishate, Shiamek Libcho Lachsher Bo, in the Avodah Zarah, and you're involved in it, maybe so it's very clear that he's putting this together with Al Tifnu El Oililim. Okay, next. First of all, it's not clear at all that the Ram Mishnah Torah learns this shot in the pasuk. Because let's just see. Let me start, and I'll start again. I'll read you one Rambam, and then we'll come back and we'll take it from the top. But I think the Rambam I'm going to read is the best proof, and then you see how the pieces fall into place. The Rambam in Hilchos Ishus in Periches Halacha Hey. Amanash Shani Rosha Afilu Tzadik Gomo Harizo Mikudeshes. Misafik, why? Shemihiro Pavodah Zarah B'daitoi She'ovon Godol who maybe it was Mahagre in Avodah Zarah, which in Ovon Godol. Umishiyahare la'avoid b'liboy nase rosha. And at the moment that he's Mahagre to be over Avodah Zarah b'liboy, he's called a rosha. Shenema pen yifte levavchem. Bekosu leman tfos es beis Yisrael belibo. So the chayra is a very important thing. And a very interesting thing. The Isa l'chayra in Mishnah Torah, now let's just see now, you would have said the Isa is Avishom Lachem Pen Yiftel Levavchem is machshovo to be over Avodah Zarah derech machshovo. That's why what's called she'ovoin Avodah Zarah Godolhu. You say the Kri in the Svolom is Avon Godol. The Avon Godol is because he's being over Avodah Zarah B'leiv. Umishiyahare la'avoid b'liboy is mahagre to be over. Nase Rosha. Shenema pen Yiftel Levavchem. And Kriya l'choy Sefer Avodah Zarah is rak maybe lidei Avodah Zarah. It's not an Avon Godol. So a priori, this is not what's going on over here, because by us the Ram seems to say Shom Lochem is not Mahare Avodah Zarah, to Mahare La'avoid, but it's to think about Avodah Zarah, which would cause you to be Ovid. Now, let's see the Ram Perek Beis of Hilchos Avodah Zarah. Halacha Aleph. Ikat Tzivui b'Avodah Zarah shelo yavoid echod mikol habruim ube'inyan hazeh tzivo v'yomo yishomu lochem pen yifte levavchem. Kloima shelo tite bihiro halev la'avoid oisai. That you're being over the Avodah Zarah bihiro. Ikat tzivu Avodah Zarah shel la'avoid avodas echem min habruim. U'binyan hazeh is not to be over the echem min habruim b'shituf min HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'yomer yishom lachem pen yiftel levavchem. Kloim sheyita bihiro halev la'avoid elu. And to say maybe means because you're going to be toyeh and it's going to bring you to Avodah Zarah, that l'chayr is very difficult. Because the din of Kriya in Sefer Avodah Zarah is only halacha beis, and the Ram halacha aleph is talking about the Ikut Tzibur Avodah Zarah. So, l'chayra, then the Ram is like he said in Hilchos Ishus that the Ashol V'Shomer Lochem Pen Yiftel Levavchem is hero ba'Avodah Zarah b'daitoi, like in Hilchos Ishus. And l'chayra, that's what's going on, because Peri Beis Alocha Aleph are the dini of Sarsul, or that the Shemesh, Yereich, and Mazolos are a intermediary between man and God. Peri Beis Alocha Aleph with the Zohar, Ikar Tzibur with the Zohar, Sholavad Echad Mikol Abruyim, Lo Malach, Lo Galgo, Lo Keichav, Echad Me'abo Yiseides, Echad Mikol Nivroyim Nehen. ואף מי שאויבד יודע שהשם הוא אלוקים, והוא אויבד הנברא הזה, על דרך שעובד אנוש, ואנשי דוירוי, תחילה. He knows that's God. How he's an אויבד עבודה זרה. ועניין זה הוא שהזהיר התורה עליו, ואומר, ופנטיסו, עיניך השמיימו, וראיס את השמש, אשר חולק השם אלוקיך, oisam, וכולי kloima. And he goes on. Libcho tire, she'elu, you're going to make a mistake, she'elu hein hamanhigim, es ha'olam, ve'hein shechelik Hashem, cholak Hashem l'chol ha'amim, liois chayim v'hevim, ve'en nifsolik, min hokol shel olam, b'toyma she'roi l'shtachel is l'loibam, being azet sibo v'amu, hishavu lachem pen yiftel levavchem, loima shaloi titu b'hara alev la'avoid elu, liois sarchso, beinechem uvein haboichem. So it's a separate issue of hara alev, to be oivei asarso. And this is certainly l'cheira, not what the Rambam is presenting here. So a Chacham will come and say, maybe the Rambam Mishnah Torah should have two separate mitzvahs. As a Isla V'Shomer Lechem Pen Yiftel Levavchem, which is here in Avodah Zarah, on the issues, and Peri Beis Alocha Aleph. And there's another law, Al Tifnu El Elilim, to be Korei in Sefer Avodah Zarah. But the Rambam doesn't do that. And the question is why and how. The Rambam's mashma that the Isal Tifnu Elilim is, or this lab is koilel all machshavas avodah zarah. Dahainu hiro b'inyonei avodah zarah, v'gam which will be maybe to avodah zarah, and hiro labor avodah zarah, which avodah zarah mamish. And since it's inyan echad, it's a hero about the topic of Avodah Zarah, but there are two separate parts to it. It's a lav echad minyan mitzvahs. And l'cheira, that's the Rambam is saying. If you look now at the whole collection of halachas in Peri Beis because of Avodah Zarah, halacha Aleph, Beis and Gimel, he starts off Ika Avodah Tzibui, v'chulei. Being as that Siva Lomi Shomal Lachem Pen Yiftel Levavchem, Koim Shali Titiv, Bihu Alev, Lavoid, Elu Lioy Salsa Benechem Minaboiri, which L'cheira is hero of Avodah Zarah, that itself is Avodah Zarah. And then he says, I'm skipping, Ubeyin Azeh Nem Fin Tidroish, Leiloheim, Leimoecho, Yavdu, Shalitishal Alderech Avoidosam. Here we're talking about the Isa of getting involved with Sipur Avodah Zarah, understand Derech Avodah Zarah. Heichi, Afapi Shein Atoivdo, Shedov is a goyim liponis achel. It's going to bring you to Avodah Zarah. Last Kamo Shein Oisish Nemo Biesa Ken Gamoni. Then he has a sentence like this, and now you understand what the sentence is all about. V'chol halavim or elu bi'inyan echod hey. Bi'inyan echod, therefore it's one lav. Shalofyafane acha avodah zarah. But the topic is a broader topic. It's not. It's pniyas halevach, pniyas acha avodah zarah. There's one to be oived b'leiv and one to be involved in it intellectually in a way that you may be oived avodah zarah. But it's an amazing thing that changed in the Rambam, his interpretation here in Sefer HaMitzvos and in Mishnah Torah. L'cheira is however, there are two different types of hero in Altifan, Altifno. There's one hero, Altifno, in other words, this broad love. There's one hero which you maharet to be over Avodah Zarah. There's another hero which you're thinking about the Avodah Zarah. And l'cheira, that's not to be over Avodah. You're not have a machshava to be oived, you just stop thinking about it. And the Ram quotes that Isa as part of the Isa of Kriya. Listen to Perek Beis Halacha Beis in Avodah Zarah. Svom Rabim Chibur Oivdei Avodah Zarah B'Avodoso Heich Ik Avodah Zarah Uma Ma'aseo Mishpateo Tzivono HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shelo likois b'oisen asvon klal, v'lo nehari bo, v'lo b'dova midvorel. This is a hero of Halacha Beis, which is a hero which is maybe the Avodah Zarah. The hero of Halacha Aleph, that itself is Avodah Zarah. What we have is two Hiruim. Now, there's a hero which itself is Avodah Zarah, and there's a hero which is maybe the Avodah Zarah, besides the Kriya. Now, I'd like to read to you a section in Moen Nevuchim and ask you which hero we're talking about. Moen Nevuchim, Chele Gimel, Per Chavtes. Hitorisenu Kula Shirosha Bekatova. It means its whole axis, what it revolves about. Asher Oleot Tisoi, Hu Limchois Hadeis Aheim Min Alavovois, Vizichram Min Ametzias. To remove these days from our hearts. Limchoisam Min Alavovois, Homa Pen Yifte Levavchem. So here, Pen Yifte Levavchem, Metzias, he's the Pen Yifte Levavchem, is talking not a hero to be Eved Avodah Zarah, but just the thought of Avodah Zarah should be out of your hearts, I assume. Next. If you recall now, the Ram has basically two pshatim nishama lechem pen yiftel levavcha. There's a pshat that it's a hero that's going to be maybe the Avodah Zarah. That's the way he's interpreting in Sefer HaMitzvos and maybe in the Meira. And l'chera in Mishnah Torah, it's a hero of being over Avodah Zarah. If it's a hero of being over Avodah Zarah, as the Ram sets up in Mishnah Torah, it's an issue about Sarso, that when you're going to see a Bruyim and you want to mechabed it, whatever, that's the Ram's discussion very clearly in Perek Beis Halacha. All I just want to point out to you if you look at the psukim in the second parsha of Kriya Shema, it says, there's no mention of anything. There's no clue of looking up to heaven or looking up to anything or how this happens. And why in the world should you say that it's an issue of salsa as he does in Mishnah Torah? Or over here, that he's reading Sefer Avodah Zarah, and therefore he'll be Omer Avodah Zarah, and that's Pshat and Posuk, is Mamish Kuli Pella. And we understand the Sifri, which is learning and understanding the Posuk in context, because the Sifri goes like this in Dvorim, Parashas Ekev, Piska, Mem Gimel, V'yochalte v'savoto, Yishomer lochem, pen yifteh levavchem. Omer lehem, he's harlo. Be careful. Shem timrudu b'amokai. You rebel against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She'ein odem moired b'amokai el mitech seid. V'yochalte v'savoto. So then you become a moired. Yishomer lochem, pen yifteh levavchem. Levavchem, through the Achil and Shisiya, you be so involved you forget the Rebbeinu Shemur Rebbeinu. That's possible. How the Ram did this is an amazing thing. The Rambam takes the door Poshet. The Yishomer lochem pen yifteh levavchem is ashara. The shaili is ashara from kriyin svarim, ashara from machshava to be over Avodah Zarah. The Yad Rama says that it's not an ashara at all, but it's techochas Moshe Rabbeinu. The Yad Rama in Sanhedrin Samar Gimel and Aleph Gufa Omabaye Gimel Shtachavos b'chulei my por b'chulei b'chulei. V'hanach kroy yishomer lochem pen yifteh levavchem. V'chein pen tizer shamayim avagav the kaimelon v'mokol shenema yishomer pen v'al einon ella b'lo yisaseh hano lav li'ikas ho'aksiva. They're not said for us ella Moshe Rabbeinu hu dekoma lahu midaite dilma vidisu hochi. Maybe you do this mianshek t'chsi yishomer lochem maksi basrei v'chor af Hashem. And it's very foolish in the Yad Rama that there's no ashara here at all. I'm going to pick up next week.